Evening. Back on the Pandaren Warrior, where I picked up last week, really, because when I've been finding time to game this week, it's been Elder Scrolls Online, actually, which hopefully I'll be streaming again on Tuesday. I am actually in a slightly different place, which is why you may notice something odd on the screen, but we'll come to that if anyone bothers to ask. Am I supposed to? I'm not even in the right place. I was in the middle of a quest last week that was taking ages because it was a pain in the ass with the troll mobs that heal when they do bleed damage to you, and you have a multiple on them on you. It was a bit of a nightmare. Four layers of things going. Yeah, okay. So, right. Am I somewhere safe? I seem to be somewhere safe. So the situation is this. So as a result of the coronavirus lockdown, what I've done is my girlfriend has made some space at hers. So I'm living there now. This is her dining room, although it's not anymore. It's now my studio. And so when I brought the computer over and I set everything back up again. So what you need to do, in fact, let me just show you what the situation is. So my webcam has that going on. So the green screen, fine. Obviously you can see the frame of the green screen and the room beyond it. This is bad. So what you do to deal with that is you just zoom in a little bit with the webcam, just so that it's only got the green screen and you in it, which is fine. Except I can't do that because you need software to do that. And the webcam I'm using is a Razer Kio, and the software is a load of shit, and it won't even open up. It works fine when you can get it open, but I can't get it open. And I've looked on forums and everything, and they've said, yeah, this is a bit of a problem. And some people have suggested that when they uninstall it all and reinstall the software, that it works, but then it doesn't work again the next time they load in. I would settle for that because I only want to change it once. But it was not working for me. And the Synapse has like a beta version 3 out. I even tried that. That wasn't happening either. So it's all a bit of a nightmare. Now I do have another webcam, but when I tried to download the software for that, which I could open, when I did do the zoom in, it didn't keep the settings when I opened up XSplit, which is what I use to stream. So I'm going to have to put I'm going to have to try some other things. And in the meantime, I'm going to have to accept the fact that I may not be able to zoom a webcam in. Because until I can work out how to do that when the software is not doing what it should, I'm going to have to come up with some cunning plan. So this is just this is basically a 10-minute job to try and solve a problem. But yeah, I don't know what the long term. Hopefully I'll have a better solution for Tuesday when I do the Elder Scrolls one. And if that solution isn't a perfect solution, okay, then for the following Sunday, when I'm back to WoW stream, I'll have an even more cunning plan. But I'm not sure. Right. Basically, I need to avoid taking on two at once, don't I? Oh, they've seen me. Run away. Now, can I get to this one before they catch up with me? Because then I'm done, I think, and I can just run away. Run away! Oh no, there's another one. Leave me alone, oh for God's sake. Oh! Oh, they ran away. That's nice. One of your favourite games of all time was Final Fantasy VII, which has just been remade, but you hate the battle system that they used for the remake. Is this like a Warcraft 3 type situation where people don't really like the remake as much? Or do you mean they actually properly changed systems in it? Where am I supposed to be now? This may have been ill-advised. Oh, it's done the thing again. Absolutely. Hang on 1 second, this is annoying. Right, this ice is so annoying, it's untrue. Every week it does this. Every bloody week. I've got to do it all again. Crap. And now I've got to get this to the right size to fit the mask, don't I? Hold on, hold on. Okay. I don't understand why I'm suddenly getting problems that I have never had. Really annoying. So they've changed the systems altogether. Yeah, that's... I suppose that's one of those things where they'll say, well, this game was really good, but there was this thing that wasn't great. Maybe we could improve that and we make the game perfect. But then there'll be another element where people actually, you know, might disagree on what was good and bad about it. I suppose when you remake something like that, you are better off just leaving it alone, aren't you? Right. Well, let's hope that was the once per week thing where it does that. I'm trying to remember if it did that when I did Elder Scrolls Online.
Loads of forgotten knowledge are within our grasp. Truth is out there.
Made you realise how much you like the WoW battle system in quests and raids. Yeah, it's on balance I would say the WoW system is really good. I think, you know, is one of the things that makes WoW's end game so good is the system it has. I'm never quite sure if certain elements of Elder Scrolls Online wouldn't be a bit better, but not all of the elements. I have to say, obviously I've enjoyed playing endgame WoW, excuse me, raiding WoW. Even though there are elements of it that I'm not as keen on, but on balance I've really enjoyed it. I would absolutely hate to be a serious player in ESO. I would hate it. I think it's a brilliant casual game. Excuse me, Gordon Bennett. A casual game, but I would hate to play it seriously. Because for all the criticism I'll give the WoW development team, they understand that animation cancelling is a bad thing, whereas ESO developers seem to embrace the concept, which makes it a necessary part of anyone's rotation, as far as I can tell. Okay, not liking being chained to this. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I would have thought, the animation cancelling. I'm fine playing it on a casual basis, like I say. I think it's quite good for that. In fact, it's superb. In fact, you know, that's why getting ready for Greymore, I've been leveling a few characters. I need to stick to my Necromancer Vampire. Actually, I keep being sidetracked and making other ones as well. But there are other ones I want to do as well. Just see how many I can get for there. I mean, it's way better than WoW as a casual game. That's why, you know, I always sort of said I'd wait till the next WoW expansion to see how I feel about it. I have an inkling I'm still going to prefer ESO as a casual game, and I haven't got the time, and at the moment, really, if I'm honest, the inclination to play WoW seriously again. But I am going to give Shadowlands a try. Anyway, did I listen to the Ian interview discussing the difference between Cleave and unlimited AoE? No, I've caught up on a few bits about it, but I haven't actually listened to it yet. That's why I've not done a video on that yet. I am intending to do commentary videos on Shadowlands. I won't be able to do the sort of stuff I would used to have done because I'm not in the alpha, so I don't get to try these things out myself. But I will be commenting on certain things, but I haven't done. Yeah, I haven't got that one's for this week, potentially for tomorrow. That particular one made me think perhaps none of the AoE spells on any class should hit unlimited target with no diminishment. I think what would be important, you can make an argument for, you know, having limits, but it needs to be consistent. What you mustn't have is a scenario where a particular class gets stuffed by it, or a particular class has a sneaky benefit out of it. Because my big thing always as a raider was, they seemed, in fact not seemed, they seemed to publicly state they were perfectly happy for some classes or class role combinations to be in the ascendancy and for others to be utter shit. So yeah. Hi Jaden. How's quarantine been? Quarantine is now proper quarantine because I've moved in with my girlfriend, so this is not my normal studio, hence the Lich King poking out behind me, which I've had to shove there to hide the actual green screen frame because I'm having technical issues with my webcam. And so yes, I'm now in not my normal setup. So I have many problems to solve before I can get things set up properly as I would like them. In terms of the videos I've been doing, I've had to been doing bodgers, but anyway. So, Fenwin there. Because of the animation cancelling, though, it makes all the classes feel the same, at least for the Magicka builds. Well, yeah, I when I was looking at... so, obviously, when I've been doing my characters, you look at guides as you would as a casual player, and you do start to see an awful lot of the skills that are being used for the... I mean, there's one particular site I've been looking at, I keep forgetting what it's called, but it's quite good in that it gives you like a beginner type guide and it gives you like a more experienced one. And the end game one does look, to me, like it doesn't use a lot of class skills. Which of course means if you're not going to use class skills, I suppose builds of different classes are going to play in a very similar way, aren't they? Because that means by definition you're using the skills that any class can get access to. But for me, as a casual player, I am using class skills as well as others. So there are differences in the way the different classes are playing for me personally. I look a lot thinner. It depends when you saw me. I probably am. So it was over a year ago now. It's actually, hang on, let me think. It's about 15 months ago, 15 and a half months ago, if in fact, that I I'll do Voldoon next. Had surgery, so quite a lot of weight loss now. Although as it's not really gone in the last few months, it hasn't really gone down at all. But arguably, it doesn't really have to at the moment. It's not that bad.
We are the sons and
But yeah, what I would hate to, and bear in mind I haven't seen that interview from what's his face, yeah, Ian Hazakostas yet. But what I would absolutely hate them to do is to go, well, we think these spells are a bit too powerful, so we're cutting a cap on these, and not to put a cap on others. I think if you're going to put a cap on AoE, A&E, and maybe they will, or maybe they have, I don't know if that's what I mean. Maybe they'll just... but what they should do is just do it on all of them. And then you balance the abilities. You can't be balancing some AoE abilities that have got a cap and some that are not, because like I say, instantly you get into a situation, like particularly I'm thinking from competitive raiding point of view, where some of them, some classes will then be royally screwed by it, and other ones will make out like bandits. You know, it annoys me when you've got encounter designs that stuff classes, and it's usually because of a failure of the class team. Why did I not run away when I saw them coming? I was stupid. Right, I might just about get away with this. Should really be taking the other one, but it doesn't matter, I suppose. Oh, I've got nothing left to hit now for my hailing back. The Horde zones are basically Dune, Dagobah and Jurassic Park, yeah. I don't actually like Voldun, I have to say. Don't like it. It's either Horde or Alliance. But
it is too far.
No, I don't run out. I do quite like Nazmir. I'm fine with that. Not on very high health. Let's get them instead. Heal myself up before I take another larger group on. I mean, when I was just getting myself here just before the stream as well, because I've been playing ESO this week, I found myself not even being able to move properly, because obviously the whole the way you operate everything is very different in WoW compared to ESO. Are they not going to attack me? Oh yeah, there they are. Oh, that's a bit weird. We've got some weirdness going on there. Okay, that was very odd. So when I go back on ESO tomorrow, I'll probably have found that I've corrupted myself with WoW's way of doing stuff. For that question, you use the quest gun to bomb groups of us at a distance. Yeah, I saw that. Not going to make it a bit boring. I'm not 100% sure what I'm even doing. Just killing for 15 of them. I haven't done this one since the BFA Alpha, or Beta, whenever it was that they brought this bit out. I ain't even got my gun anymore. Should have decided to level the rogue first. Could just sneak around all this lot then. Whereas I don't think of the Alliance zones. It's actually weird. The ones, you know, I don't really like either of the ones where the capitals are in, but the Alliance zones I'm alright with. I don't have any great objection. Whereas the Horde ones, I like Nazmir, I really don't like the others. Where's he buggered off to? So I hope the Shadowlands zones I appreciate. I mean, I think in an expansion there's always one zone I really don't like. But in this one there seems to be
The
several.
horde will fall.
So hopefully Shadowlands will be... Maybe Shadowlands will be the one where I like all of them.
Light we weep.
It'll be the first time ever, but you know, you never know. Live in hope.
I offer the mountain's finest. May the depths bring ye well.
Boralus is the best capital city in all of WoW for me. In terms of accessibility, all the bits and bobs. I mean, surely Ironforge is the best capital from that point of view. I do like Boralus. I wasn't keen on Zuldazar at any point. It wouldn't be as bad with flying, but I don't even have that. Again, at some point, I suppose, I mean, Shadowlands is going to be a long way off, isn't it? So, at some point, when I've leveled all the characters I want to level, and again, I'm sort of still taking advantage of this Winds of Wisdom. I don't... Well, hang on. How long has that still got to go? April 20th. So, yeah, while that is active, I absolutely want to be just leveling characters.
Have a good one.
Take advantage of it. Again, especially as I'm pretty much just doing this once, maybe twice a week, I am spending the rest of the time on ESO. Where ESO has a similar thing, because it's the anniversary with ESO. And you know, as a result you get the cake, which they do every year with the anniversary. I mean, WoW do as well, don't they? But you get a cake you can use to give yourself 100% XP buff on top of the XP buffs you can get from just normally. So again, but, you know, if I had to prioritise, I'll prioritise ESO for that. Because levelling never ends there. Well, it does, I suppose, for some people who play it more than I do. But generally speaking.
Something first.
Ironfire does long travel time to get to certain things. But anyway, we stood out. Big old circle. With a bit in the middle.
I am out of range.
It was particularly good with before flying, because I suppose you could argue Stormwind's not bad now when you can just fly from one thing to another. But before that capacity, Ironforge was clearly better. That is a tough beetle. Not sure if EU realms have different emissaries, but today for me it was 440. Oh, okay. Maybe I should. Oh, wow. I mean, I'm not level cap here, so I won't get access to them. I could have a look at it in a bit, couldn't I? Yeah. Could have a look in a bit. I suppose I should really just keep going on and checking the... I keep forgetting about that. Might be worth just doing it. And checking on, I mean, my hunter as well, because obviously before I'd start this warrior I got my hunter to level cap as well. So it might be worth their while having a look at that. But I think there are. I think in Legion there were differences between EU and US ones. But the fact that they can come up means, yeah, I should really be paying more attention to that. Okay. I'll pull it anyway. Might as well just go for it. One more required. To go further this way, maybe. Yep, there's one. I actually feel a little bit weird trying to follow stuff on Shadowlands without being in the testing. Because this will be the first expansion where I've been actively playing the game that I haven't been involved in a alpha or beta fairly early on. Actually, forever. TBCs I wasn't in. That's the only other one that I wasn't. I never even applied to be in that. But then after that, I did get into Wrath fairly early on. Not Cataclysm, but I wasn't playing the game when Cataclysm was being done.
Are you here to help?
And then in everyone since then, I've been in fairly early-ish.
Thete brought this war upon us.
Seems like they have petrified trees in this landscape. How long ago did Voldum become a desert? No idea. So it might be magical trees. Because again, you're literally talking about a point where you've got a desert thing that instantly changes into a swamp thing, and then here a lush jungle thing at the border. So there's no real phasing out of these landscapes. What's this? Oh, what's this? This toggle quest thing, what's that about? That's from some add-on. Must be from an add-on, I guess. I don't know whether that's of use to me or not.
We must remain strong.
Greetings. For the Alliance.
Yeah, I think it must be add-ons. The game would certainly not put anything that attempts to be useful for you.
I need to get closer.
I mean, I still haven't set everything up as I would like, but I'm not in that much of a rush now, truth be told, because I'm only going to be pottering about till Shadowlands, and then I might just set up add-ons for Shadowlands nearer the time. Maybe every now and then just do a little bit, because I forgot to save all my add-ons data when I was installing the new hard drive. And I can't be bothered to get it back off the old one now. There's an add-on on ESO I'm struggling to re-find as well that I used to have. There doesn't seem to be quite such a good community dealing with them for ESO as well. There's quite a lot of ones, even a couple that work that are sort of out of date. It's quite difficult to find, even via the Twitch app, up-to-date ones. Thoughts on Holy Power being for all specs? Yeah, I mean, I've sort of talked about this before because, you know, it's not the first time someone's brought up the concept. I think Holy Power works really well for Ret. I don't agree that it works well for Holy or Prop. Now, I'll remain to, you know, I'll keep an open mind if they're going to do it as to how they implement it. But my argument is, with DPS, you know, you have a rotation. There's some reactivity now and then, but it's essentially a rotation, and so the Holy Power gives you a nice ebb and flow. Do I want to be tackling that on my own? Yeah, why not? Might regret it now. I don't think I will. Now, healing and tanking are both quite reactive. You know, you don't want a scenario in tanking where you can't use some... I mean, you have your cooldowns on a timer. That is you planning for things. You don't want to then have to use it. I mean, hopefully they wouldn't have something you would have to use in an emergency that is on a similar thing like that. And as for healing, everything you use as a healer is largely reactive. You know, you react to the situation. I really don't think it's at all useful. You know, healers should have one resource. Mana is a perfectly good resource for healers to manage. And, you know, so it's just a role thing. I think having a dual resource system or a system like Holy Power, because a lot of DPS classes have something very similar to it. Obviously, it started off with combo points for rogues. It all sort of developed from there, didn't it? Well, rogues and cat druids. But yeah, healers, the resource should be mana for healers, and for tanks it should be time. What is this? Up. Down. So yeah, I'll wait to see exactly. I mean, I can't see how it's going to feel for a long time yet, because as I say, I'm not in testing. But I don't think it's a good idea. Oh, balls. Whereas on your Warlock, which is right and properly Affliction, you want all your curses back, plus maybe more curses, more dots, more... Yeah, there's a limit to the dots you should have. But... no, Holy Power for healing and tanking now. But I'm not going to rail against... I mean, I was going to do well, I still will intend to do a video from the Paladin point of view next week, and that will be one of the things I mention in it. But you know, I'm not going to rail against it really strongly, because I need to see how it's going to work in practice.
See you around.
Are you here to help? The faithless empire will fall.
See you later.
Korthek brought this war upon us. We will never give
Right,
up.
never mind that rubbish. Right. Says follow Vorik. Is he going to go? Yeah, he's going to go somewhere. I do hate these tour guide quests that you always have to do each time. Like, you know, we can find them for ourselves if we need to. Just tell me where to go, we'll look on the map where to go and we'll go there. I'm not listening to a blind word he's saying. And there's Single-Minded Fury, which Ian said they're probably not bringing back, and you're like, oh. I think that's a bit of a shame, because there's some people that would have liked that. Again, my attitude is always, you know, when people like choose a class, they'll be choosing it for certain things. You shouldn't really take those things away. You know, he keeps harping back about the fact that they had this ability bloat. Well, that was their fault. That was ultimately their fault. But you shouldn't have taken things, play styles away without a very good reason. And there isn't a good reason for this. I mean, it doesn't bother me personally because I like dual wielding the old two-handers. We were discussing this last week. But no giant two-hander enhancement. Oh well, I think people. I don't think people had a stylistic attachment to that anyway. I mean, I can't say for certain because I played Alliance for so many years. But I think it was largely that they liked the big crits, didn't they? Big Wind Fury, big numbers. It was all that was about. Hang on, let's get on the horse. Don't these Murlocs know I'm on their side? Apparently not. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm going to die. Didn't realise I'd pulled quite so many.
No, that was an impressive death.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Would I ever want Retribution to dual wield? Yeah. Yeah. Like, Morning Storm said. So, yes, I love dual wielding. In any game where I can dual wield, I do dual wield. If I could be a dual wielding paladin, yes. I mean, in reality, when I was doing my raid and stuff like that, I would have used whichever weapon was, you know, the best. But I would choose to dual wield if it was a choice. Why am I struggling to kill this thing in anything like a reasonable amount of time? Don't you dare heal. It's taking me long enough to kill him as it is. That took a hell of a long time. What the hell's going on? Oh, they're all level 120. That's not right. No one will get my head kicked in. Liking the change that are coming in Shadowlands? I will just say cautiously optimistic at the moment. I have to remember that ultimately the development team is still headed up by Ian Hazacostas, who is full of shit. And I'm certainly not going to forget.
A trash pile just be a place to keep your stuff quiet.
Oh, I must have already done that. Or I'm not supposed to do it as Alliance, because you do those as Horde, don't you?
Fate's smiles upon us this day.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, BFA, they ended up wasting a lot of time, and when you consider the expansion came out in a very unfinished state, they wasted a lot of time on things that didn't do any good at all, and yet they wasted a lot of time on it. And applied more complex solutions to problems that they perceived. And I don't trust them not to do the same thing again. Right. What are we actually supposed to be doing here?
Hey there.
Is
Farewell.
that it? We won't spoil, but there have been data mined broadcast messages found which reveal who whispered for Vol'jin to make Sylvanas war chief. Oh, very interesting. I will have to investigate that then, because I agree with not spoiling it for those who don't want to know yet. I do want to know.
What news?
As far as I'm concerned, the story of WoW isn't told when a patch or an expansion goes live. It's when we find out the data mined information. What do I want? Cooldown. Yeah, that is much more useful, I would think.
Aim true. Farewell.
Oh, not enough resources. Fine, no problem.
Your legend grows.
Right, and they don't want me to do anything else just yet. That's fine. Let us go to the Harbour Master's office and see what they want. This is not the Harbour Master's office. Right then. I didn't like on my last character that the end quest on Justfar was bugged. So we'll do Tiragard sound.
How can I help? Serve.
All right, Flynn, what's this big lead of yours? Something about Ashvane having a new gunpowder?
Is it possible when we go into Shadowlands, the Azeroth we leave behind is sort of destroyed, and so the next expansion is us creating the infinite dragons to reverse time? There's any number of possibilities. Shadowlands, the whole concept of the start of it is quite intriguing. But an intriguing story alone isn't going to keep me in, because, you know, BFA has had decent storylines. And I can follow the storylines without actually putting a lot of time into the game. Ultimately, the actual playing of the game has to be enjoyable, I think.
See you around. Ashvane's dirty
Well
secret.
met. Flynn, I have another job for you. Help
And
our
that
new
was just
ally
a
track
pitch.
down the source.
Imagine
of
how
this
much
powder.
damage they could do with more of this stuff. You got it.
But I mean, obviously, they never actually finished the story properly
Prepare
off
to make your rounds
of the
here.
Infinite
Tell the
Dragonflies.
city guard to be on the lookout for unusual weapons being smuggled into Borealis.
Aye, sir.
The one thing that's giving me hope is they worked on the characters first before releasing the alpha, and they're going to be doing in fine-tuning numbers. Yeah, see, that doesn't to me. I don't see that as a good thing. Because what it means is they did a lot of the development without feedback on the classes. The problems they've had in the past is that although they've had feedback, they've ignored it. So what they should have done was to have listened, and listening to the feedback isn't always the same as changing what you're doing because the feedback suggests you should, but at least genuinely listening to it instead of just dismissing it, which was always their first reaction. So you have the same thing now. You know, there'll be things about the class philosophy design that people are approving of, but at the end of the day, the implementation is so important with particularly very competitive players. You know, if I was still raiding, I would want to know, as a Retribution Paladin who only wants to play as a DPS Paladin, if they want to introduce a range spec for Paladins, that's fine. DPS Paladin will have to be specifically rep, but at the moment that is the only option. You know, am I still able to compete with players who are on the same skill level as me, but maybe playing a class that's more suited? You know, that's ultimately it. It's not pleasant to sometimes be struggling when you've got players who are not actually as good as you, but on a class that forgives more, or is more useful in other ways. I mean, that was always the thing. Paladins always used to be really useful. Their utility was superb. And then a load of it was taken away, or it was split out amongst the different specs, you know, for some bizarre reason that made no sense. The bad side is you're stuck with how your character looks now before release, no more changes. Well, yeah, it will have had some feedback. It will be important to note that Blizzard developers they do discuss things with selected theory crafters, which are actual experts in their class. We're not talking about YouTube influencers here who just talk shit as if they know what they're talking about. I mean actual experts in their class. So there will have been some steering there, but still, you know, they're basically they're bringing things in and sort of saying, there, that's how it is, deal with it.
Good fortune to our friends.
I mean, what I'd prefer, my class design philosophy would be just to, you know, if I think about some of the other MMOs I've played, like Elder Scrolls Online and Lord of the Rings Online, and their attitude towards... What's this? And their attitudes towards class design are that you don't habitually change classes. You know, Elder Scrolls Online doesn't bring in sweeping changes to the classes each expansion. If there's something needs change, it gets changed. But a new expansion is about new content and a new storyline, new zones. You know, it's all that sort of stuff. It's not changes to the way the game works, unless they're needed. Whereas Blizzard got itself, and this isn't Ian Hazakostas' fault, this is previous developers' teams, because they got the game into a situation where... what the hell was that? Where people expected it. So, like, the first question people ask when the alpha's going live is, oh, what's the class changes? You know, the first question I used to be asked when I got into the alphas and betas is, oh, how does this feel? How does this... And it was all class questions. Oh dear. Again, bitten off more than I can chew here. Let's pick on the weaker ones. So I can get this healing and action. And this is why that ability bloat that they're complaining about came in the first place, isn't it? Because they felt the need, every expansion, to give you new things. There's no need to give you new things. Just make the classes work and then bring new things into the game. You know, and every now and then you could have new classes. They brought in new classes. That sort of thing's fine with an expansion. You hope the art team fixes the transmog for helmets on Forsaken. Every cloth helm mage wears is pulled down over the nose. Oh, you've got a Forsaken with a nose. Hold on.
And ban this note after reading it, you buffoon. Wrong place at the wrong time, friend.
I think that worker's going to come to regret their life choice there. Oh no, they've gone back to cowering.
I like your tolerance. Thank you.
Pay for this. The penalty for trespassing is death.
Probably not getting a lot of the other things done at the moment.
Ahoy! Anchors I hope they have food on the boat.
Oh, sorry.
Wrong place at the wrong
More lag going on here. What's going on? Oh, of course. How do I feel about the no war or Titanforging? I don't know. I didn't mind it too much. I mean, the way it's more the Titanforging that was an issue. The concept of Warforging was not a big issue. Remember, the reason it was brought in, well, there's a couple of reasons, but the main reason it sort of stayed in was so that you had, you know, the more advanced raiders had some reason to keep running content, you know, because they were unlikely to get a full set of the Warforged gear, so you never got your full bis, and that was okay when it was like 5+5 item levels on it. That was fine. That was, you know, once you started getting the silly Titan Forgers there in Legion, that system I wouldn't miss at all. Really not in favour of that. Even though you knew, you know, if you were in LFR to get the top item level item there, you know, very few people would actually do that. But it was still, for a game it rewards you entirely with power upgrades. You know, to have a scenario where someone in LFR could get like BIS trinket or something like that, and you've got people, cutting edge mythic raiders, who will never get it, and you just think that's not right. There's a certain amount of RNG with stuff, and you can accept that, you know, the most accomplished raiders may not get a particular item and maybe lesser ones will, but you know, you don't want too much disparity with it. Oh, carried on killing that worker and not giving up. Never mind, they were useful to me. Do I have the talents where a whirlwind causes the next rampage walk to hit all targets? Yeah, I believe so.
Says I need my sea legs. But I've already got 2 legs.
Oh, hold on. Can't remember anymore. Set it up a while ago. I'm just hitting buttons at the moment. I'm just getting characters up to Shadowlands levels so that I can then decide which character or characters I would, well, I will do the paladin, but which maybe other character or characters I would like to do after that, which I'm not going to decide yet. I'll worry about playing them properly then. Where is the next marked good? Hi, Jimmy.
You don't belong here.
Oh dear. Oh yeah. Thank you very much. We try not to do politics here though.
I am out of range.
Other than advocating for the removal of gnomes. Oh, there it is.
Wrong place at the wrong time, friend.
Ah, there it is. Oh dear.
I don't care how you do it. I want those forges running day and night. The chemists are producing excellent powder. You will keep them supplied with refined azurite, or I'll find
Penalty for
someone
trespassing
who
is death.
Cables annoying me. I've finally got myself some wireless headphones again. Because the cable on these ones keeps winding, it gets coiled round and you can't undo it. Been bugging me for a while, but particularly when I sort of moved to this new setup. Because on my computer desk at home, I was actually able to deal with the situation, but I can't do that here. It just gets in the way.
I've received reports of horde activity in this area. See to it that their plans are unsuccessful.
I've just had it on charge, so after this I'm going to actually install that and then hopefully I should be free of this annoyance. I don't really think someone who's placing blight barrels should be using a holy spell. Can't wear giant padded headphone like that, causes creasing your ear. See, I have earbuds instead. Okay. No, I find that, oh, balls. Quite comfortable. And these ones have been comfortable. It's just the cable is really annoying. Like no other cable I've ever had before. I have had wireless headphones in the past. I don't know why I didn't really stick with them. I think I got this one, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, because it had shiny lights on it. Shiny blue lights. It was probably the chief draw, if I'm going to be brutally frank. What do I think of Shadowlands? I'm not entirely sure yet. I haven't seen anything in it that worries me. Nothing that I want to sort of vocalise just yet. Obviously, my main issue, the thing that's ultimately stopped me playing WoW in the first place, or at least stopped me playing it anything other than casually, was the excessive amount of stuff that it gets you to do, like trivial, boring stuff. You know, Artifact Power and Legion and Azeroth stuff in this one. Not only do I not see that going away in Shadowlands, I'm getting the impression they don't really see that as a problem, and if anything, they could even double down on it. So that's the only real concern. In terms of other things, you know, there's things in there to be hopeful for, but I've just had too many experiences of things at the start of an alpha beta process being encouraging, only for either no further movement to be made, or them actually removing things that were actually good ideas. But I mean, the reason why I'm levelling these characters at the moment is specifically for Shadowlands. It's not like I've sort of come back to the game as such. I'm just waiting to see if Shadowlands is going to be decent enough. Because if it's not an improvement on BFA, I can just see myself going, that's it, and just calling it a day. And yeah, maybe in the future I'll come back, but I would just be I'm not going to, you know, there's already too many, I already have too many hobbies for the time I have available. I'm not going to spend it on one that I'm not really into. But, you know, when you've played a game for so long, you want to give it another chance, don't you? And it was only, and really the only major issue I had, like if I still had the time to raid, if I didn't have to give up the raiding because of lack of time, I think I still would be raiding. I still think it's a really good game for that. I just don't think it's a good game for a casual player. Or rather, more specifically, I suppose, there are games that are better. Like Elder Scrolls Online that I've been playing this week, again, or the last few weeks really, is a way better game for a casual player.
Let me know when you're ready to board that ship. I'll follow your lead. Go wherever the wind takes us. The key to going anywhere you don't belong is just to walk in like you own the place.
Timetable's changed, boys. Get your grogs to go.
They said there will be no AP equivalent, however, Torghast isn't repeatable, so I imagine some form of coalescing essence. Titan Residuum for legendaries, we'll have to see how they implement it. I mean, the issue is, it's not so much about the specific mechanics of artifact power, it is, are they going to put something in place that compels you to spend a lot of time doing trivial content that you don't want to do? You know, how much time are they expecting you to spend on chores? That's the issue for me. How much time do they want you to spend doing trivial content that you don't? I'm not saying there's an issue with trivial content, because sometimes people will enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it, are you going to be compelled to do it in order to be able to access the content you do enjoy? That's the issue for me. I just think they should offer different types of content of different levels of difficulty, and they should leave you to do what you want. You know, Elder Scrolls Online does that very well. And yeah, I've got no doubt that the super top players will have to do certain things as well that may or may not enjoy. You accept a little bit of it, but it shouldn't be excessive.
Keep the wind in your sails.
Fancy a cuppa?
What I resented in Legion is I had to spend more time doing content that I didn't really want to do than I was spending raiding.
Look always to the sea. Lord Admiral's favour, friend.
Lord Admiral's favour, friend. Safe passage to you.
But again, you know, like with everything else, I'll see how it goes. And I'll try and keep my commentary to definitive things in the game, which should be quite easy because I'll not be doing as many videos as I used to anyway. But I will be trying to get out weekly, once or twice a week when it's on things of interest. But I'm not actually in it. I'm not going to be playing it in the testing. So it'll be quite limited what I'll be able to discuss anyway.
Come at me, you briny hags! I'll fly your hides as we do colours!
Oh dear, Harmony's coming along this way. Worried about the covenants from a story point of view, cannot think of any way that your holy priest would feel compelled to do things for evil vampires, for example. Yeah, you mentioned that, didn't you? Yes. Yeah, I understand that. Come here. Ask you to bottom. Oh, bollocks. Absolutely did not mean to do that. Oh, I better get rid of her first. This is a disaster. Have I had a chance to see any of the ret changes? Yes, a few. I'll be going through again. My main plans in terms of like coverage for this week would be I would certainly plan on explaining what I think about the ret. And also my more sort of general ideas about... where's it gone? Oh. Some of the other changes that are coming in. But what you've sort of really talked about so far in this, really. In particular, loot. It is a loot-based game, so ultimately the way loot is handled is always going to be crucial. Still not seen any announcement about player housing. That's disappointing. Enhancements in huge changes. Really excited. Seems to be more raft to mop style again with no maelstrom. Yeah. I don't think Ret needed a huge amount doing. Being honest. There are some welcome changes. You know, actually paladins being treated as paladins again and getting abilities back should be quite good. Assuming they don't revert them, because they are. I know people were saying after that video, oh, but you know, the differences have actually implemented these changes. Well, until it's gone live, nothing's implemented. We'll just have to wait and see. It's more hopeful that they have. But the way Ret plays in BFA is fine. It's all right. I didn't have an issue with it when I was testing it. The main issue is, I mean, when I was doing it from a point of view of a raider, when I was doing the testing, is because there's two sides to whether a class is, you know, has it been well designed. One element is how does it feel to play, and if it feels fine, then that's good. And then another element is how is it going to compete with others? Hang on, this is going badly. What my oh no, that's crap. Alright. Do I have to kill them or something? Do I need to kill the ants, or did I just cock something up? Oh, it's done it again. Absolutely joking me. That's the second time. This is annoying now. Ugh. Right, if anyone was not here at the start, this is going to look a bit weird, but unfortunately, this is the bodge I've had to do. Balls. Come here, you... Right, that means that's definitely going to need to go there. There it is. Right, better not do that again. You're worried for survival hunters, the ability they get arranged. Well, I was never hugely keen on hunters having a melee spec, and it's not that I thought there was anything particularly wrong with survival, just there are too many close combat classes in WoW, 6 of whom cannot have a ranged spec. You know, they don't have a ranged spec. They have to be in range. So inviting others to come into close combat that don't have to be was always a bit annoying to me. If the whole covenant system that will make all the difference in terms of power for the characters. Oh, it is the whole covenant system. Well, again, things like that. I don't know how much attention to pay to how it is at the moment. Those are exactly the systems that are introduced at the start of an expansion are exactly the sort of systems that are most subject to change. This will actually bloody help, won't it? There's someone else fighting it for me.
You killed the love of my life. How could you?
The only thing that's supposed to be melee range on survival hunters is Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite replaces it. Well, do you know what that sounds like? That sounds very much like in Vanilla WoW, doesn't it? But anyway, again, it's another of these problems that would have largely gone away if they didn't have the attitude of having to change classes every expansion. And although they would say, oh, they only ever really change it majorly every 2 expansions, there was always, every expansion there were always changes. Oh no. Tin robot. Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm going to have to go up and sort these out. In terms of survival, you preferred it when it was all about explosives and poison and such, sort of End of Wrath and Kata. Yeah, I mean, I played survival at that, you know, a few times. At the end of Cataclysm, effectively my Hunter and Death Knight really took it in turns being like my main alts, because both of them did. When we were on the sort of cooldown, getting ready for MOP, you know, we used to do sort of 10-man raid. It was in a 25-man raid guild, but we used to do some 10-man raids, and you know, I used to do those on both the Hunter and the Death Knight a little bit. You know, I played a bit of survival then. Let's get rid of these bars. I keep. Oh. But ultimately, the problem is when you change these things so massively, you'll get some people like you know, who are fans of it as it was a few years ago. But you'll also have people who are fans of the way it was changed more recently. And that is the issue with fundamentally changing things like this, which has got nothing to do with balancing it or, you know, allowing it to engage in more of the game. It's purely done just for the sake of change. And it means you're instantly going to be pissing off a load of players, because there'll be some players who were annoyed that it ever changed to what it became, and there'll be other players who will be annoyed that it's going back a bit.
Not bad.
And you might actually annoy both players if it's not actually going to be one thing or the other.
Watch your back out.
Careful about sticking your nose into Ashbane business. They're as filthy as they come.
Is he going to get up? Come on, you
I'm
lazy
all
beggar.
ears. Eyes on the horizon.
Oh, let's actually turn these in first.
Thete! Keep the wind in your sails.
Fancy a cuppa? Look always to the sea.
If Flynn is a Kulturan, he must be a strange mutant because he doesn't look at all like the player ones. No.
Don't look back.
Special characters don't have to.
Just need a little drink to clear my head. That hits the spot. Let's get moving.
And we don't know that he is anyway. If he's supposed to be a bit of a rogue and a pirate, then
Now, which way was it? Left?
it could just be his adopted home.
No, it was definitely right. Watch yourself. There's some nasty critters.
Go and get that quest.
Lord Admiral's fate.
Toxic stingers. I'm sure those serve a totally legitimate purpose.
I don't know what this lag is I'm having tonight. I wonder if it is. I didn't know it's on Elder Scrolls Online. Because obviously this is not my normal network connection. And here it is shared amongst multiple people. But my MS seems fine.
Hey, it's
my FPS is
dangerous
fine.
out here.
What's going on?
You really should stick with me, you know. Suppose I'll just wait.
This has one of the best quotes in all of WoW here about side quests and professionalism. Although I do like it. It was a bit disappointing to me after I was playing in the alpha that I'd sort of decided to go Horde and would be largely missing him out. Because I was not anywhere near as impressed with the experience on the Horde side. Oh, done at last.
What can I do for you? Keep the wind in your sail.
Side job, are you? Can we get a little
Drunks make the best hypocrites, though.
professionalism here? Blimey, what a hike. Just need another little sip. We're getting close. I can feel it.
Come on, you. You always pick milk in a skull mug for the... Oh yeah, I do that as well. Absolutely. Even though I don't actually like milk in real life, but it's a role-playing game, so why not milk?
Hey, lizard.
Bizarre thing there. There's someone in there in the guild called A Gnome Ate My Cake, and their rank is rank 6 officer. So this is this a guild?
Aha! This looks familiar.
It's a bit bizarre that. So they haven't actually got names for the different ranks, just rank 6 officer. How bizarre. That sounds a bit impersonal, that, doesn't it? Oh, back again.
We went right last.
Rank 6, the officers what are in between. C prof. Well, I don't know.
Clearing up.
It's just a bit bizarre. On a more related note, that is something that will be happening during these coronavirus lockdowns. Drunks won't be getting as much exercise as they used to, because they'll now only have to walk between wherever they're drinking their beer and the fridge.
Here we are. Freehold. This is a rough town. Just let me do the talking.
I mean, it would be suggestive to me that it's someone who's set up a guild, and that because the ranks, I think, when you set up a guild are just like numbered, like rank 1, rank 2, and so on. And it would just suggest to me that they've kept that in and just added the rank to the end of it. I don't know, it's just weird.
Privateers, mercenaries, even pirates are welcome. Naturally, it's a colourful town.
Although I can't remember which numbers the order
I've never
goes in.
seen it this busy before.
Or which order the numbers go in, rather.
I bet my boots will find more Ashvane weapons at the docks. We need to learn who's buying them. Blood or gold, everything has a cost. Keep your powder dry. Once you have proof that the Ashvane Company's been selling weapons to these scumbags, come find me up the hill at the main gate. I've been gone a long time. Let's hope I still have a few friends inside.
I'm not actually too partial to this. I don't know whether I just overdid it at one time or what. Oh. I need to get that. Where's that quest? Oh dear. Since Blizzard are adding controller spots game. Yeah, I saw that. But not dance mats. People are on their own with that stuff.
It's a watery grave for you!
They do usually, I think, to be fair, from expansion to expansion, add in more accessibility options. the hell? Can't pick it up. Did I hear they're removing rep requirements for allied race only to do the storyline? I hadn't heard of that, but that is stunningly good news. Because that is what is stopping me. There's some allied races I'm not bothered about at all. But there's some I would quite like to do, but I don't... Given that I'm not playing the game that much, I'm not going to be... Oh, well, that sorted that out. I'm really not going to be doing the rep requirements to be able to even start them. So that's good news. I would like to see them, you know, take a similar attitude to an awful lot of time sinks in the game. I understand that there has to be time sinks of some description. Because, you know, they can't create the level of content that you might like them to. But you know, some of them are just inexcusable, really. Goodness sake. Seem to remember removing Pathfinder for past expansion. You can fly in the expansion you choose to level through. Yeah, good. About time they did something like that. Absolute nonsense. You know, because the Pathfinder is the sort of time sink I'm okay with. You know, I think that's an acceptable thing to do in terms of the flying. You know, obviously Blizzard initially in WoD tried to say, right, there's not going to be any more flying in the game. It should never have been, you know, allowed to be in as such a major part of the game, which I agreed with, but at the same time I also knew that it would backfire on them badly, and it did, because the genie was out of the bottle. But you know, I thought the idea of Pathfinder was quite a reasonable compromise, but there is no excuse when they invalidate past expansions. Absolutely no excuse for keeping it in. For past expansion, you know, for doing it for future ones is fine. The question really would come in, at what point do you bring it in? Do you just bring it in at the start of an expansion? Or is there a point at which you say, before the next expansion's out, the current expansion is done? Do you... Like, when should they bring out, or when should they remove Pathfinder, basically, for BFA? Should it be just when Shadowlands releases, or should it be when at a point when they feel that a number of serious players have basically done? You know, and you're properly into pre-expansion stuff. Still need humans, orcs, night elves, drone, etc. Okay. I mean, I don't see the point in having any rep requirements. Have a quest requirement, a quest chain requirement. To put in some achievements a bit like, you know, for flying, but not rep related ones. Rep rounds are boring. And very casual players are not going to do them. Oh. You're a bit more hardline on Pathfinder. You don't think they should ever remove the requirements. It was never required to fly to level those zones. No, but when you're leveling those zones, you want to do it more quickly. There's a lot of people have already done those zones, but not necessarily got Pathfinder. You know, I would only go away with your line of thinking if you weren't invalidating expansions. Like, again, drawing a parallel with ESO, Elder Scrolls Online. The
keep the wind in your sails.
God, I should have picked that up before. the previous expansions are not invalidated when a new one comes out. Like when Greymoor comes out, which is the one that's coming out this June, that is not going to stop the previous expansions being just as relevant. You know, there's a lot of reasons for that in terms of the way Elder Scrolls Online is set up. Invalidates the work you did unlocking Pathfinder. No, no, it doesn't. Because you put that work in to unlock it during the current expansion. You know, like the last time I did a Pathfinder was Legion. So in Legion, I unlocked it so that I could fly around in Legion. Since then, you know, I'm not accessing Legion. It's of no bother to me if someone else who didn't do that is able to fly just as easily. Because that expansion doesn't exist anymore. And also, oh, it's done, it's done. You know, you've got to think about it this way as well. So let's say they put some content into a past expansion, which they sometimes do, like cosmetic content, something like that. And in order to do it, realistically, to do it in any sort of time, you need to be able to fly around. Why should someone who's a relatively new player spend weeks rep grinding just to be able to do that? I mean, they wouldn't. Anyway, but why would they have to do that? This lag is doing my head in. In terms of the allied races, again, I don't think anyone should ever really think about the work they put in to get a thing. I mean, put it another way. All right, let's look at this. So someone was telling me last week, might be someone here now, I'm not sure, but someone was telling me last week about the raids the Legion raids they were soloing. Okay, now that means that someone can go back to Legion raids, and get gear that I had to put months of effort into with a load of other people. Is that invalidating the work I did? Not really, because that gear is no use to me anymore anyway. It doesn't hurt me that someone is able to solo it in the following expansion. Alright, where are you going? Now I can understand someone in a position like with the allied race. I don't know when this is this in now or is this just coming in Shadowlands? Let's say it was coming in now. I can understand you being a bit miffed if you had just spent months doing everything you needed to unlock, say, Mechanome, because, I don't know, you thought there was a good reason to unlock yet another gnome race. We'll just gloss over that aspect of it. And then the week after that, they suddenly announced that actually people are not going to have to do that. I can understand that being a bit annoying. I had a similar situation in Vanilla WoW actually, where when I was doing the epic mount quest for the Paladin, what you had to do is you had to gather up some materials. One of the materials you needed was a pristine black diamond. Now, I had to pay 500 gold for mine. They were actually really rare. As you might expect with a name like that, they were actually very rare. But within a few weeks of me doing that, I think it might have been literally a couple of weeks, a patch was brought out that made them much more common. And when I mean much more common, I mean it cost you a few gold for one. So I had spent 500 gold, which back then was a lot of gold. I had to save up for a long time to do. I had to do a lot of grinding to get that 500 gold. And yet if I'd have waited a few more weeks, I could have kept my 500 gold and had paid just like 10, 20 gold or something like that for it. So that sort of thing can be annoying when it's unexpected. But the idea of Pathfinder only being needed for the current expansion isn't, because it's expected. Oh, for God's sake. Why did he suddenly die? Right, I don't need those anymore. What do I need? Don't need those. Allied races unlocked when 9.0 comes out. So I mean, that's not a big deal. Again, you've done something in an expansion. Oh, there's one there. Oh, balls. Don't want to have to take loads of the bastards on. You know, that someone else is going to be able to do with no effort in the next expansion. That happens anyway. Like I say, the classic example is raids. You can solo raids that I had to spend months, and get gear that I had to spend months getting beforehand. I'd really see it as no different to that scenario.
Lord Admiral's favour, friend. Look always to the sea.
And in the case of something like a rep grind or something, I mean, it was just tedious anyway. You know, it was a sort of thing you could do without paying any attention to concentration whilst watching a DVD or something. Where are they?
Ahoy!
In my example, the gear usually disables itself when you're soloing it because you're higher level in the content. Well, no, but some people get it for looks, don't they? Transmog.
Let's get paid. Put the hat on. You can't be a scurvy. Looking good. Let's tell the recruiter we've come to volunteer.
Doesn't suit a Pandaren, this hat. It's disappointing.
Greetings, sir and or ma'am. Well, ye did bring your own hats. All right, get in there and report for orientation.
Hazing. He means hazing.
Hmm.
Don't worry, we're skipping that.
But yeah, I mean, I'm
know a place
absolutely against any... I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Am I? Am I? I kind of... I am. I'm absolutely against anything in a game that sort of gets you to do content you don't really want to do. Beyond a little bit of sort of... You can understand for serious players, a bit of farming for the purposes of reagents, consumables, that sort of thing. You know. You understand that if you're going to be playing at a top level in any MMO, you're going to need like potions, consumables, you know, stuff like that. But how you do that should also be up to you. You should have a few options. Right, here we go.
What'll it be? Cheers!
Avast, ye bloated barnacle! We've come for your booty!
I told you iron-tide punks to... Wait a minute. Flynn?
Well, you say, hang on a minute, you say by removing Pathfinder that makes those old expansions dead. No, what makes those old expansions dead is that they serve no purpose beyond leveling. You know, in ESO, as an example of where a game doesn't kill off old expansions. So, excuse me, I can, on a character of any level, I can go and do some questing in Somerset, which is the current expansion. No, it's not. It's the last expansion. Sorry, the current expansion is elsewhere. So I can do some content in elsewhere, and then I can go across and do some questing in Somerset, and then I can go across and do some questing in Morrowind, and it's all just as useful. They're just different stories in different zones, but they're all just as useful. They'll reward the same gear, or the same quality of gear. They'll give me the same amount of experience. You know, the only difference between them is the stories. None of the expansions are invalidated. Right, here we go. Milk in a skull mug. As always. And that is not the case in WoW. As soon as Shadowlands comes out, BFA for the vast majority of players is useless. Utterly useless. The expansion is dead because the expansion is dead. Now it does sound, I have to be honest, that they're gonna. It sounds like they'll be improving things a little bit in WoW, but that is still going to be the situation. ESO must not have any chronological progression to their story. Let's be honest, WoW has a messed up chronology to its story. Let's be perfectly frank about that. But obviously, yeah, chronology doesn't actually work in the same way. But in WoW, let's consider the scenario, shall we? I create a new character in WoW, let's say a human character. So then I get a load of spiel about, particularly when I go to Westfall, about the very costly war we had with the Lich King that we won. We defeated the Lich King, but it came at a terrible cost. And now there's a load of people homeless and all the rest of it. Isn't it terrible? And you level up like that, and you know, and then you get to level 70. And then what happens at level 70? You get told that you need to go off and fight the Lich King. You know, I need to go back and oh, sorry. Am I not paying attention? So, yeah, chronology in WoW is not really...
What'll it be? Watch yourself out there.
Oh, all right then. It looks like I sneaked an extra one for myself later on.
That hits the spot.
So it all worked out.
Say, Flynn, whatever happened to that woman you were always talking about? Until next time. The one with hair like ravens down?
Not now, Venric. We're here on serious business.
And if you remove Pathfinder, what's the hypothetical new player going there for? To either explore or to just level through it? Or maybe they're just going for some cosmetic stuff or to do some pet battles. In Shadowlands, once you reach level 10, you can pick the expansion you want to level through. Yeah, I mean, that's... yeah, that's one of the things I'm sort of looking for. Well, not looking forward to for myself, because I'm probably done the levelling that I'm going to do. Will you die, you idiot? I'm not going to be killed by a gnome. They do. You say they don't need to fly for another dimension. Yeah, they do. Because otherwise it takes a long time. Why are you trying to bore people? This is a game that's already losing subscribers hand over fist. Why on earth would you set out a strategy that means boring them? Flying is a part of the game. It is not a reasonable outlay to get someone to spend weeks preparing. I'm actually going to die if I don't use that. You know, flying. Oh, I'm still going to die. This is so weak, this warrior. Kill it. Oh. I know I'm probably playing it wrong, but still. So weak compared to other characters that I also play wrong. Whereas Pathfinder is reasonable in a current expansion, because in the current expansion you're going to be spending months in it anyway. And also you're doing your rep grind for something else. You're not just doing a rep grind just to get flying. You're doing the rep grind to access other parts of the game as well. And you're simply not doing that when you're doing it in another expansion. Oh, what? Who invited them? Oh, bollocks. Piss the dog off now. Oh, I'm just going to try and run away. And that didn't work. Absolutely appalling at this. I'm going to stop in a minute. Well, it's time to stop in a minute anyway. At the end of the day, if you're going to have flying in the game, you have to let people be able to fly. It's not a reasonable outlay of time to go back into old dead expansions and spend all that time. Because no one, for any reason, like let's put it in today's thing, in Shadowlands, why should someone spend a month in Legion or BFA? There's no justification for it at all. Oh no, I put new items on and did not transmog them. This is horrendous. Oh my god, no. Oh no, there it is. Whew. Oh no, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong transmog. There's the right transmog.
May your feet find good trails.
Right, but anyway, I am going to do something. New is latest expansion, surely. Sometimes you could even make an argument that new is latest patch, because it also has to be said in WoW. Not only do they invalidate an expansion when a new one comes out, they arguably invalidate a patch when a new one comes out. But I would certainly argue new is a new expansion for myself. Anyway, I'm just going to junk my stuff, and then apparently I've got some cake waiting for me. Maybe, if everyone hasn't ate it already. Ah. Hang on a minute. Oh, is that right? Is that everything? I must have two different add-ons that are putting stuff in bags up. Or it might just be for when I'm junking stuff.
I have many, many wares.
Why is everyone screaming? Stop messing about. Alright, I see. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'll have to call that a day. There will be a couple of videos coming out this week when I get time to do them. Certainly one on Rhett and hopefully another one as well. But thanks for coming, everyone, and until next time. Tuesday I'll be streaming again, but that'll be ESO. But I'll see you later.